For actors, was this a good show to work, even though it did not last?
It was a marvelous show.
As long as you wanted it to.
Show. It offered a challenge with each script. It was not unlike, when you go in and do a Western, you have a pretty good idea what you're going to do. With Star Trek, each script was a challenge. And we could go into almost any different direction. For instance, we did a show called The Deadly Years, which enabled me to age to around 115, 125 years old, which was a real kick for an actor. I spent 5 hours each day in makeup alone for this. Now, you would never get that opportunity anyplace else to do that sort of thing, to be called upon to do that sort of thing. I found it a challenging and interesting show to do.
I thought it was what was particularly challenging about Star Trek for me was trying to make Warp 4 Captain into something really exciting, because that's what I had to say most of the time.
Yes. What for, Captain?
No, Warp 4.
Warp 4. Warp 4. Tell me about the warps and all that. I must confess to you, I don't understand. I know that
warp 1 is the speed of light.
Okay, but I know that there are people who get this down to the details. They have blueprints of the starship, and they check the technology and everything else. I'm not into it in that fashion, so you'll have to...
Of course, I started the whole thing.
Makes two of
being the chief engineer, and I built the ship up in space, so at the San Francisco Navy Yards, and they shot it up into space.
What about this thing back here? Is this pretty... No, that isn't close at all, for heaven's sake.
Well, it's not bad. It's not bad, though. Pretty good. But, see, we have 1776 on there. Isn't that great? I must say I'm observant.
Well, it was 1976.
Yeah, it should be 1976.
That's where Scott is located, in that lower compartment there. That's the engine room. And that with the bridge is in the center on top, and then the surrounding area are the science labs and quarters.
Antimatter pods.
And yes, and the
on the outside.
And it took a crew of 450 people, roughly, to operate this.
Yeah. It's about 400,000 tons, as it was.
But what was the total cast of the show?
The total cast of the show, as far as the regulars are concerned, I think was 8.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Which means that there were 442 people that we never saw.
They were down the steer.
You saw them, but they generally died every week. People be killed off.
To what do you attribute now the fact? The thing has not been on the network since 1969?
Yeah. Right.
And you all do these conventions that we'll speak about a little bit later on. What has kept this popularity alive?
Well, Tom, all you have to do, to me, is to look at a show today, and we can look at them. Some shows I have not seen for 9 years, and you just look at them and you say, man, that was a great show. And not just because you were part of the cast, but because the whole story holds up. The stories had such fantastic content to them.
Good writing?
Absolutely beautiful writing. The whole concept from the start that Gene Roddenberry... so that he could be able to say something for today, but put it 300 years from now and it wouldn't be censored. You understand? It was really a beautiful thing that you could now look at it and still say to yourself, wow, what a great show.